Well, hello my friends, Time Architect here, and welcome to my tutorial video on this castle behind me. This is actually one that I have built up inside of one of my old Minecraft worlds, and I thought that today we would go through on how we can build this inside your own world. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So as with any build, you're going to want to start by laying out the footprint of it. This is a 17 by 17 structure, and it is 11 in the middle with these little bump outs at 3 by 3. The centermost area of this keep is 12 blocks tall, while all 4 of the towers are 14. So once you have that laid out, go ahead and build up your first 4 layers tall in stone, and then pick whatever side you would like for your entrance to be on, and just punch in a quick little 2 wide entrance. So once you have brought up your base up 4 blocks, go ahead and start setting your stairs in an oscillating pattern just like this. This is purely a decorative touch. It's not supposed to serve any sort of purpose, just kind of help break up the flatness of the front wall. And once you have those, go ahead and fill in the corners just like so with solid blocks. So that way this will actually be the second floor, and it also fills in the void that you would normally have right over here. So once those are in, go ahead and bring up the whole rest of the structure 12 blocks tall. So you have it at this level, and then your 4 corners, bring them up 2 more to get to that finished height of 14 blocks. Not 15, 14 blocks just like so. And then fill in the corners just 4 like you did on the story below. Once you have all of your 4 corners built up just like that, you're going to want to fill in the whole roof at the bottom slab level. This will help aid in any sort of mob proofing if this is a survival world, and it also adds just a little bit more height variation for once you get the entire fortifications in place. So now that your roof section is completely slabbed out, come over to the corners 1 block in and add in a slab. This will act as the stairway up to these top turrets. And then you can go ahead and fill in this corner just like so. Moving yourself onto the front of your keep, you're going to start to add in the fortifications by putting in the supports for the machicolations. So start off by coming in 1 block from the tower turrets, and then just place an upside down stair 1 block apart, just like so. And then if you're at the point in your world where you have access to an iron farm, go ahead and place anvils on the top, just like so. And then go ahead and place in a slab at the top level connecting to the top of the anvils. And just like that, that is your machicolations. So now that your fortifications are up, you can go back in and add a little bit of a transition from the walls to your supports by adding in levers, just like so. And with that, you have yourself some proper fortifications. Now that you have that front fortification of the main structure, come over to the side towers and just continue to add upside down stairs just like so. So spacing yourself 1 block apart, and do the same pattern with the anvils and the slabs. Just like that. And of course adding in the levers for support. And there you have it. Just continue that process on all the way around on all 4 sides. And then once you have that, add in 1 more high on the stone on the inside tower, and just add yourself in some upside down stairs. I would not recommend adding in the anvils, seeing as how this part of the keep wouldn't need fortification. The next part of your keep that you're going to want to add in will be the arrow slits on the main structure. So I added in these polished andesite blocks as a reference, because you're going to want to come up 7 blocks from the bottom. And then on the 8th and 9th, come in 1 block, punch out those 2, and you're going to want to place the stairs in that fashion, so on the bottom and on the top, so that way the slit will be closer to the tower, and you want to do that on both sides, just like so. And then from there, you're going to come in another 2 blocks and do the same thing on both sides. There you have it. You have some evenly spaced arrow slits that are prepared to defend your castle, and do that on all 4 sides. So this part is completely optional, but it will also help to really sell the fortifications of your towers. Would be to add in some couple more arrow slits, just kind of in random spots around it. So you could add one in there, and then maybe come down to, say, about here. And just try to not make them all line up perfectly. Add a little bit of variation, just so that way there is a little bit of interest to your build, and it could also kind of follow along the lore that it would be adding to a stairwell. That the archers could pop out randomly in a stairwell and still be able to defend the keep. So with the addition of the 1.16 update, we have wonderful blackstone that will act perfectly as reinforcements at the top of our keep. So I would add those around the tops of your build. And then this part is just really, there's no wrong way to do it, but you just want to add interest to your build. And I do find a good way to do that to be to add buttons, just as different sort of misaligned rocks and stuff that may have slid out over the years. And then just, you want to start by adding in a little bit of andesite. Kind of, like I said, there's no wrong way to do this. Just add yourself in a little bit of texture variation without going overboard. So once you feel you have an adequate amount of andesite, you could go ahead and call this keep finished right there if you're looking for more of a pristine, newly built, depending on your style that you want to put in your worlds. Or we can take this one step further and make this thing look like it's worn down, weathered, conquered, however you want. And that's the part we're going to move on to next. And that will be with the addition of some cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, and gravel. And you want to start at the bottom and work your way up to really add a bit more of the weathering, like Mother Nature is growing back up and over it. So just like with the andesite, there's no wrong way to do this. You just want to add yourself in a whole bunch of this. Most of this will be covered in vines anyways, so you won't be able to see too much of this up close. And I just go through and just randomly drop in cobblestone. And I like to keep most of this at the bottom. So just work your way up with the different style of blocks, varying up between the gravel, mossy cobblestone, and regular cobblestone. And I like to go with the mindset of thinking about how it would be in real life. So you wouldn't typically see too much moss that high up on a structure. Of course, depending on where it would be. If it's in a very shadowy area, we might see moss further up. But I try to keep that in mind when I'm going through and decorating my builds. So now that you have those 3 blocks, we can really start to make it look like this thing has taken some damage from battle by just adding in some indents in the wall via cobblestone stairs. So I would just go something along the lines like this, and then you would want to fill in the area behind it. Maybe it'd be better if we went something like that, and then we'd only have to fill that one little pocket right there. But you can kind of see that just by adding in these little indentations, it really looks like this thing is taken like a rock or something from an artillery piece. You can also go through and add in some walls for a little bit smaller indentations. And of course, if you do it somewhere near an edge like that, you want to add in a block so it connects. And you can do that with both cobblestone as well as andesite. So one fun little detail that I like to add in my builds is to make it look like this thing has taken a chunk out of the wall via siege equipment. So just do that, offset your walls to really add a whole bunch of variation, just like so. And you can do that with the stairs, or you can use walls. Really, it's the limit is your own imagination. So there you go, big old chunk missing out of your wall. Now I didn't decorate this left tower, and that's for a reason. I wanted to do kind of two builds for if you wanted a pristine build or if you wanted to do a ruined. So since we're moving on to the ruined fortress, go ahead and take out almost this entire chunk of this tower here, kind of working mostly out of the corner, leaving most of it on the sides, somewhere right around there. And this point, just start spamming yourself around a whole bunch of different cobblestone blocks and stairs to really make this thing look like it collapsed from a direct hit from some sort of siege equipment or something along those lines. And then don't be afraid to go full 3-dimension. You know, typically medieval castles had thicker walls, so you can add yourself in more variation. Or if you like to do what I did in my world and have a tree growing out of it, just give yourself enough room for the trunk of that tree. And being how this tower would be load bearing, don't be afraid to take out chunks of the ceiling, so that way it will look like it took out part of the stronghold in the process. So since that tower has been knocked out, don't forget to go back through and add yourself in a whole bunch of rubble and debris scattered around the ground from where the top of that tower would have landed. And then of course use my favorite detailing block, the buttons, to just add those little bit of pebbles and stuff that would have flown a little further when it collapsed. So when you are satisfied with the amount of ruining that you want to perform on your keep, now you just go back through and add yourself in some vines. And I like to try to do it in a way to where they won't completely overgrow. So whether you want to use string, or I like to use buttons as a means to control the vines, so that way they don't completely overtake your entire build. So once you have yourself the amount of vines that you're happy with, don't forget to add yourself in some happy little bushes all around the bottom of your structure to give that extra bit of dimension. And I figure let's utilize the new azalea tree blocks. I think that would add a wonderful pop of color around the bottom of your structure. And then don't be afraid to bring them up a few blocks to get yourself that little bit of different depth tones to match with the rest of your build. And one other thing that I like to add in is just a little bit of potsil and other soil variations down below it. So that way I think it really sells that overgrown feel to have the different color textures in the turf. And then also add yourself in some path blocks to add that height variation again. So this thing is just absolutely cram full of detail. But it's all complementing each other, so we're not trying to force the eye to fight over what different areas to look at. And of course, you can't forget to add yourself in some grass and ferns. And just, like I said, give it that overgrown feel. Playing around with different heights and stuff so you can go through and bone meal your grass or your ferns, so that way you can get a little bit of higher elevations, just like so. So I spent a little bit more time adding in details just to give you guys ideas on what you can use to decorate your castle. Just plopped in a little tree there, added in the small azaleas, coarse dirt, and then I actually went and added black concrete behind all of my windows, and I actually put coal blocks there just as a little bit more detail, because if this castle was here, the door wouldn't be pristine. It'd be missing, let's be honest. As well as I added in some moss blocks, some mossy carpets, and some dead bushes. All of these things kind of bring that all together to give your eye something appealing to look at, but not overcrowding your build. So that, in a nutshell, is the exterior of the build. And if you want, let's go take a look back at my original world to get a little bit of a look at the inside. So back over here in my original world, you can see a little bit of the palisade wall and all that really sells the environment. And then I nestled this thing up on just a little bit of a hill to give you that little bit of an elevation gain. When I added in a little bit more of an archway, it wouldn't make sense from a defensive standpoint because then your invaders would have shelter from the arrows. But I used the moss the vines as a way to block the entrance, and then I actually put a chandelier in here and busted out a whole large chunk of the ceiling. Like the whole thing collapsed, brought the chandelier with it, and then you can see the tree growing up and through that one tower, and then just absolutely spammed all sorts of cobblestone and mossy cobblestone around here. And then you can see the fireplace is extinguished, and you can see all the soot on the back wall from where there was fires in there at one point. Up here on the second floor, I just left a nice big opening to bring in that natural light. And then this is all pretty plain, nothing too special. Making our way up to the roof of the structure, we can see that I use smooth stone slabs to add a sun-weathered look. But with that, my friends, that is going to have to conclude today's tutorial video. I do hope that you enjoyed it, and I would love to see all sorts of screenshots and other pictures of this thing in your own world. I want to see what you guys can do with this, so send me pictures on Instagram, send them in Discord. I want to see what you guys can do with this. But with that, my friends, I do hope that you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to give this thing a big old huge thumbs up and subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.